We are here in the Mega Indie booth. Right next to Antechamber is a perhaps even more mysterious first-person adventure game that is, needless to say, a little confusing but equally mind-mending. I'm here with Richard Perrin of Locked Door Puzzle. And so what is the story behind Kairo?
Okay, so Kairo, in a nutshell, is an atmospheric exploration and puzzle-solving game. The idea is that you wanted to create a world that was interesting to explore. So it's all got this minimalist, abstract architecture everywhere, and the idea is you're wandering around trying to figure out what's going on. It's my attempt to tell a story through a world and through its puzzles. So as you go through the world, the strange things you find as you wander around, kind of freely. It's not totally linear, and the puzzles you solve are all machines that you're getting working. And the idea is that over the course of the game, without me ever having any dialogue or text or the traditional narrative, you kind of start realizing what you're doing, what you're piecing together to actually get the world of Kairo to do something important.
Now, I'm seeing a lot of architecture and a lot of unique colors for each room. What inspires those designs in you?
Well, it's an eclectic mix of everything, because I wanted to make the game feel like because it's exploration, every door you go through is taking you somewhere new and interesting, because what's the point in exploring if there's nothing interesting to find? So what that means I do is that I kind of scour the internet and books and anything I can for all sorts of architectural sources from around the world, and anything that inspires me to think, okay, so what can I do with this? What take can I make on this? And so that hopefully the players will get this experience that is one minute they're in a room that feels relaxing, and the next one that's ominous and oppressing and around them. I just kind of want to give them a whole range of emotions to make it feel like the exploration, beyond just solving the puzzles, was worthwhile wandering around.
Now, what is the development story behind this? How long have you been working on this? And it's a game you're making yourself, correct?
Yeah, so I'm kind of a one-man development team. I have a musician, but other than that, everything's by me. I've been making games for like freeware games for about 5 years or so, but this is my first attempt at a commercial game, and I've been working on this one for about 2 years now. Like most developers, I started out thinking, oh, this is a 6-month project, it wouldn't be too hard, and I kind of built it to play to my strengths. Like, I had previous projects that had failed because of collaborators and stuff, so I kind of decided, okay, what can I do? And I knew that I can use tools to build architecture, and I can use Unity to make 3D games, and I figured I could combine all that and make something that really played to my strengths.
And how did this game develop? I mean, was this the same as it was when you first created the game as a prototype, or has it?
Okay, well, the way I make games is probably not the same way everyone else does. And what I do is I start with kind of a mood or a feel of how I want the game to feel. And this one was kind of the mood and feel was like eco. Wandering around the old castle with all the the rubble and the rundown kind of filing. And I wanted that mood, so I started looking at there was one specific image of some architect who this really fascinating building, and I thought I could probably model that, and then I could walk around it. And once I did that, I started adding more rooms on, and it got to the point where I was like, okay, I've got this little world that I run around, and I quite enjoy exploring. And then I started thinking, so how can I engage with the player? And that's when I started thinking about old machines that they could get working. And then on top of that, I started thinking, how can I layer in environmental storytelling? And it's kind of, for me, games kind of iterate outwards. They organically grow from a very simple kind of mood and feel until I'm sort of I was probably 6 months into development before I really knew what the game was. And at that point, once you finally got it down, you start going through the stuff you've done earlier and throwing things away and redoing stuff. But that whole time was just me experimenting and trying to figure out where I wanted this game to go.
Yeah, for the experiment, is that how you do your puzzles? Do you experiment to try and find a unique mix, or do you have it all created before you design the puzzle?
Well, generally I make the rooms first. I make the room and I start thinking what kind of machinery could fit into this room. And generally, rather than trying to think of a puzzle, I start to think of what is the purpose of this part of the world? And then I start to think, okay, so if that was to work, how can I then break that in an interesting way, in a way that the player would then have to figure out how to get it working again? And on top of that, there is a layer of when I'm then considering that, I try to make sure it's not the same puzzle I've seen earlier, and I try to make them varied enough. But then also this kind of thematic elements that run throughout the game that you see over and over again. But mostly again, they just kind of evolve out of the world.
Now, this is coming out for PC, correct? And is there any other platforms that you have in your mind, or is this going to be the main one?
So initially, it's going to be on PC and Mac, available, downloadable from my website, and then a few months later, it's probably going to be out on iOS and Android once I've had time to finish the port. I've already done some proof of concept, and that seems to work fine.
All right. And when should we get our hands on this and become lost in this world of Kairo?
Okay, so right now you can already pre-order from the website, and if you do, you get access to these alpha builds. But in about 3 months, maybe June sometime, the final game should be available.
Awesome. And I recommend you do, but keep the lights on or else you're going to get sucked right in.